Obviously, coming off an open week, we talked last week, but so I'm not going to talk about the last game. We'll move right into this week. But we had a great week off, I guess, if you want to call it. Had two good practices. Had a chance to get fresh, get a little bit healthier, as healthy as you can get in November because everybody's banged up. Got a chance to really go back and self-scout what we do on all three phases of the game, and just kind of look at who we are, look at fundamentals, what can we do better in all phases, and I think that's kind of what you do in an open week. Evaluate each position as far as what we're doing there, what we have to improve on. So I think great week as far as that goes, and then we're on to Notre Dame. Again, heavy game planning this week. Just a tiny bit last week. We're worried about Pitt last week, and focus on Notre Dame kind of in a normal game week schedule. So. Again, Marcus Freeman, heck of a football player. Obviously former linebacker, was a great player at Ohio State, and obviously he's a tremendous coach. He's a competitor in all respects. You watch him on game day; he's into it. I mean, he's not just a sit back. He's very active. I can imagine he's active, just being a defensive guy in all their meetings, offensively, defensively, and special teams, because they're aggressive in all three phases. They got an incredible team. I've said this before, we've faced some really good teams and some better than others, but this is, by far the most athletic, the best team across the board at all phases, every position that we'll face. It's America's team. It's the All-American team, period. They got the best players from all of America, and our guys will have their work cut out for them. It will not be easy at noon on Saturday. They got players everywhere. Mike Denbrock, obviously their offense coordinator, does a great job. Was at LSU, was at Notre Dame, was at LSU's back. I think was at Cincinnati as well. So he's been all over the place, and does a heck of a job calling a game. They do a great job with check with me's at the line of scrimmage. It'll be a slower tempo team, but they'll be on the ball, looking for IDs on what we look like, what we're doing, and what kind of signals we're making, all that kind of stuff that you can imagine happens in college football. So obviously it starts with C.J. Carr, at the quarterback spot. A young guy, but plays like he's a senior, can make all the throws, manages the game well, doesn't make mistakes, he plays disciplined. You go to the tailback spot, Love and Price, two great tailbacks, number 4, number 24. Obviously, they got Heisman Trophy candidates, they got Thorpe Awards on defense, but Love and Price are, Love's obviously special, and then when he goes out, Jeremiah comes in there, the Price kid, and he'll run it down your throat as well. So they're two-headed monster at the tailback spot. Raritan at the tight end spot, number 9, is special. Malachi Fields, number 0, special. Jordan Faison, in the slot, is a guy that's the leading receiver. He can make you miss. He's also their punt returner. And then defensively, I could just keep going on and on about all the names that are out there. But they're special everywhere. Front 7, they got probably the Thorpe winner corner, number 15, Leonard. So they're special across the board. And special teams, they're aggressive on special teams. I mean, coordinator does a great job there as well, and they're going to run reverses on kickoff. They have since North Texas when he was there, gone far back as 3 jobs ago to see the reverses they did then. They're still doing some of the same stuff here. They're going to be aggressive on punt block. I mean, they're going to try to go block a punt. We got to be great with our protection. Junko's got to do a great job getting the ball off. And the return game is special. I mean, Price is back there for kickoff returns, Faison's punt returner. I mean, they got dudes everywhere, and they play a lot of starters on special teams. So, questions?
What does Jeremiah Love do that allows him to be probably the best running back in the country?
Well, let's start with, he's got a ton of talent. But beyond the talent, probably like their head coach, they play hard, they play tough. I mean, they give great effort. I mean, they're not just there's talented teams out there that don't play hard. This is a, elite talented group that plays hard all the time. I mean, in all three phases. I mean, every play is the game for them. They play like we want to play, okay? I would hope someone would say the same thing about our football team, because we play hard all the time, whether we're right or wrong, or make a play or don't make a play, but our guys play hard regardless of who's in the game, and that's who they are. I mean, defensive head coach, I think most defensive head coaches are like that. He's intense, like I said. He's aggressive in all 3 phases, and he's going to go attack you. He's not waiting for things to happen. He's going to go make it. Whether it's, I mean, they've got more fake punts, than anybody in the country combined, maybe. I mean, Navy calls a timeout just to, they'll run their offensive line out there, their second offensive line. They'll put their offensive line out there and try to fool you, just like we saw last week with USC putting a quarterback at punter and throwing. I mean, we got to look out for that. We got to find out what number 4 is on the field. Is it Love or is it the linebacker, the 240-pound linebacker? So size-wise, we should be able to tell, but we'll have to be on alert all the time for anything they do in special teams. And Love is special. Going back to that, they're special. Well, he's talented. And again, going back to the effort that he plays with. I mean, you saw him, Saturday night probably, go down, but he's not down. He rolls over a guy and takes it to the house. I mean, he's never down. We got to gang tackle both those tailbacks, but he's got elite speed. He's got track speed.
When you think about the team that you're about to play, the stage you're about to play on, just the overall implications of this game, what gives you confidence in your guys that they're ready to go out there and beat this moment?
What gives me confidence is what we've really done in our games so far this season, right? I mean, we got 9 games of who this team is. Our guys were locked in a 4 o'clock team meeting, which is earlier than normal for an open week, based on what we did yesterday, in our meetings. But you could play. You talk about the stage. You could play this game at 7 a.m. over the field house on campus. You can play it, Carnegie Mellon. You can play it, in the parking lot out here or in our indoor facility. Doesn't matter what time. Doesn't matter who we're playing against. Our guys will come to play. Period. And all the hoopla, the game date, all that stuff. That's great for. Great for the city of Pittsburgh. It's great for the University of Pittsburgh. It's on a big stage, but in here, we're insulated in here as far as that goes. I mean, it's just a game. I mean, once that kickoff starts, our guys got to be locked in, play one play at a time, and be focused. That's what it comes down to. So don't let you guys can get all excited, but we're just going to play our game.
How do you keep them focused with all of this outside noise that you go out? How do you keep that internal?
Yeah, great question. The focus. It's just like it is when we opened up against Duquesne or whoever we opened up with. Is that who we opened up with?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the focus is the same. It's a football game, and it comes down to the details. And you got to win the inches on Saturday. If you don't win the inches, you're going to get beat. You might get beat really bad by a team like Notre Dame. So they'll stay focused because it comes down to the details, and you can't execute properly when you're out of control. You're too excited and you're focused on the wrong things. To be focused on game day, good luck to you. We're in big trouble.
Pat, that being said, it's a good problem to have, right, compared to where you were a month ago? Or I'm sorry, after September?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's a good place to be. But again, that's what our guys work for. That's what the dream is. But we've been 7-2 before too. So it's not like this is the first 7-2 football team we've had in Pittsburgh. We've been there before, and our guys know the mistakes we've made, and big thing is how we're going to respond after being 7-2, and can we finish the season the right way? That's my focus.
Outside of the way that the personnel that they have, is there a certain about the way that they play? I mean, like, they are committed to running the football. Like if you stop them on first down and you stop them on second down, that doesn't necessarily mean they're not going to run it on third down. Does that sort of make them a little different than some of the teams you played this year?
Not really. I mean, there's a lot of teams that wanted to do it like that. Stanford still wanted to run the ball. BC wanted to run the ball. I mean, even on third down, they were going to run the ball. So we faced other teams that want to establish a run game. They're no different. They're just doing it with the best players in America. So that makes it a bigger challenge.
Things kind of broke your Pitt's way over the weekend in the ACC with some.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Things kind of broke Pitt's way over the weekend with some teams losing the ACC. Are you guys were watching it all, or just trying to shut all that out?
I watched the games, and in the evening there was a lot of good games on with 2 minutes to go at exactly the same time, which drives me crazy. That recall button, and I don't like watching 4 or 5, but I'm watching every game I possibly can. I'm watching Miami, Syracuse. I'm watching them all. Not worried about that because we can look and see what happened, by the other teams in the ACC or in the country. We got to do what we got to do. We just take care of our business. I've told our guys all along, just one game at a time. We just take care of what we do. We control our destiny. Period. You can look and go, oh yeah, we're in good position, and then get smacked in the mouth, and you're not in such a good position.
Pat, you mentioned that Notre Dame plays how you guys want to play. Do you feel like you're ready to match their physicality, or
we'll find out Saturday at noon. You know, I sure hope so. I mean, they're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. They got, you know, our guys will play hard like they will. I don't have any doubts about that.
When you look back at the last 2 times you've played Notre Dame, you guys have been outscored 103 to 10. For you,
Thank you, I appreciate you. Thank
for you and the defensive coaches that were there for both those games, how personal is this one for you and Bates and Sanders and Collins?
I think, you know, there's nothing personal about it. It's the next game. You know, nobody cares about what happened in 2020 when Joey Young was playing quarterback. Nobody cares in 2023 when we went there in the first 3 series of the game. I think we turned them over. We scored 0 points. And I think their first touchdown was on a punt return for a touchdown. And I told you they're really good in their special teams. It'll be a special teams war because I think we're a lot better than we were back in 2023. But, you know, that's why they play the game. 2025. You know, again, the past doesn't matter. I mean, you can take all the scores to 100, was it 103?
103 to 10.
To 10. I mean, yeah, you can take all those scores and, you know, we'll find out what happens Saturday. That's why you get to play the game.
Notre Dame lost its first 2 games of the season. You guys obviously had some tough losses with West Virginia and Louisville. I know you can only speak for yourself, but what is the challenge of just having to rally the troops, if you will, at a low ebb during the season? And was there a moment for you when you felt like you really had to circle the wagons with your guys and just keep eyes to the rest of the season?
Not really. I mean, you look at, like, you know, I feel like nobody beat us this year. You know, we beat ourselves. So as long as we take care of business and keep our focus, as we talked about here, you know, we're going to have a chance to win a football game. I think we got a really good football team too. You know, they lost the first couple, but like, you know, Coach Freeman did a heck of a job bouncing back. I mean, they played some good people, and you know, that's why they play the games.
When you talk about beating yourself, just how do you go about avoiding some of the mistakes, whether it be playing behind the sticks, penalties, interceptions, so on, mistakes that can really come back to bite you against an opponent like Notre Dame?
Yeah, if you're getting 3rd and long against these guys, you're in big trouble. So I should tell you that right now on Monday morning. If you get 3rd and long, the 3rd down package is elite. They got a different one every week. You're going to see all kinds of different stuff. They're going to blitz from everywhere and try to kill your quarterback. So, you know, we got to see, you know, that comes down to the focus, right? I mean, it comes down to our focus in the details and how we practice, you know, our practice habits this week, and hopefully it transfers on the field on Saturday.
Going back to all the noise surrounding this game, you mentioned how you think the whole team will handle it, but with Mason being a true freshman quarterback, big game, lots of eyes on it. How do you see him specifically handle it, and why are you confident in him in this situation?
Obviously, we're confident because he's been our guy for the last 5 weeks, and you know, just like his first start, it's not sure how how he's gonna respond. And going to the 6th start, big game, how's he gonna respond? But we got a lot of faith in, you know, him, and you know, again, you know, we just got to make sure he doesn't go out there and try to be the guy, and, you know, let your players around you make plays. Don't try to make them all by yourself.
Notre Dame's 3rd in the country, and I think with 16 interceptions as a team. I know you and Mason have both said that he needs to take what the defense is giving him. So how much more of an emphasis is that this week?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a team that will take the ball. They got great ball skills in the back end, and not only can they run, I mean, you know, they'll have a guy, you know, this podium's got him beat, and this guy will be trailing and burst in front of the ball and take it away. It's like, holy cow, what a great play. But again, that's the speed you're talking about that you don't normally see. So some of those throws that maybe worked the last few weeks might not necessarily work this week. So, you know, it's got to be a focus of protecting the ball. You know, he's watching the tape right now, and our coaches are watching it. We got to be smart with football. You know, turnover ratio in this game's got to be critical. Period.
Pitt and Notre Dame have had a long history. You've obviously faced them 4 times before. What does the series mean to you as a head coach at Pitt?
You know, it's another game. I mean, after the game it'll mean a lot. Before the game it means nothing. You know, like I said, you're facing a tremendously coached team, a talented football team, and we just got to go out and play ball. It's, you know, doesn't do anything as far as me and Pitt or anything else. I mean, what's it matter?
Do you see it as a rivalry with them?
I think so. I mean, you know, we haven't played them since COVID in an empty stadium. I shouldn't say that. You know, the last time we played them at home was COVID in an empty stadium, and so. But I think, you know, it's a rivalry game. But they got all kinds of rivalry. And they rivalry game against Navy, rivalry game against BC. They're all rivalries. Anybody who plays Notre Dame, I think it's a rivalry game because of how good they are.
You mentioned controlling your own destiny. Do you feel like this is a must-win for this team when it comes to something?
Absolutely not. You know, It is not an ACC game. I'm glad you brought that up. It's not an ACC game. You know, I gladly get beat 103 or 110 to 10 in that game. They can put 100 up on us as long as we win the next two after that. But again, our focus is on Notre Dame and getting as many wins as we can.
On
At a time.
the matter of the ACC and the tiebreakers, it's a pretty convoluted situation right now. I was curious, when they did away with the two divisions, were you on board with it then? Would you like to see them go back to divisions so it's a little more clear picture?
Yeah, I remember vividly campaigning, might say, for keeping the divisions. I think, and then you had teams, that was back before you had a team, now you got even more teams, you got this big long line of, you know, I remember talking to Dino Baber saying, Dino, you know, it's a lot different being, you know, 6th or 7th in a division as opposed to like 15 or 16 in you know, the ACC. I mean, when you're way down there, you know, it gets you fired. And, you know, being 6 doesn't sound as bad in the league. So I was a big promoter of keeping the division. I still believe in it. I still think it's still the best. I think, you know, you guys heard me say this before. I think it propelled us being a, you know, Coastal Division champion to start off with, and then, you know, having an opportunity to go win an ACC championship after that in 21. To me, if we weren't some type of champion in 18, you know, I don't know if we ever get to 21. So I think there's a building block that you need. And now, I mean, you don't get a chance to be a co-champion anymore. I mean, the NFL, you got NFC and AFC champions, and there's you know, fireworks and confetti and a stage. Now it's 1 or 2, and you know, if you don't win the championship in Charlotte, you're a bad team. Period. In the season like that. So, you know, I'm a big proponent of the divisions, and you know, I remember going through. It'll make you dizzy. I don't even look. Like I said, I don't look at the standings. I don't care. Let's just win our football games and go 1-0 every week. But if you look at, you know, I know the first one is head to head. After that, it's like you know, I'm not the math major. I'm not looking at it. I don't care who played who. I mean, but you're going to come down to. I think we talked a couple weeks ago about, you know, possibly sitting in front of your team saying, hey, we're not going because we didn't play this team. That's no fun. But that's the life we're in.
Now, what was the pushback that you, I mean, you know, when you said, hey, you were advocating for divisions, but I mean, I wasn't paying that close attention. What was the reasoning that they told you why we're going to this massive one glob format?
Well, it was so long ago, I don't know. I know there were some coaches that aren't in the league anymore that were whining because they had to play Clemson every year, and you know, in our division it's too tough, so we can't win a championship. You know, and I'll go back in 21, we beat Clemson in the regular season. We had them on our schedule, and you know, so to me that was, you know, just kind of a cop out. I think it was more of, we don't want to play Clemson, let's spread it out and not have to play Clemson every year. So that wasn't me. I could care less. Just put them on our schedule every year and stay in 2 divisions. Give us Clemson. It's even better.
You talked, you know, frequently about the parity in the league, and that's a sign that the league is good. That teams can kind of beat any. If one team can go and beat any other team on a given Saturday, that means the league is competitive as opposed to having a couple of top dogs. But you know, as long as the CFP stays at 12, can that hurt the league? Because I mean,
it can hurt the league.
Might be at least nobody's going to have maybe less than 1 loss or less than 2 losses at the end of the season.
I mean, it can hurt the league. You got to stay healthy, as we know that. You know, I don't know if our depth is like the SECs because they, you know, purchase a lot of players and they got depth. I mean, you look at Virginia. You know, the quarterback gets knocked out in the first half, and all of a sudden they're playing with their backup, and that's probably the reason they lost. If their starter plays in that game, we're not sitting there having the same conversation. But you know, it's November and anything can happen, and you know, the next man up. You got to find a way to get it done somehow, some way. You got to adjust.
There's been a lot of talk, obviously, about Mason, but CJ Carr is also a young quarterback in his first year as a starter. What have you seen him do well?
Oof, everything. I mean, I think he's completing 68% of his balls, maybe more. You know, he manages the game. He doesn't throw interceptions. He can make every throw, as I talked earlier, and he gets them into the right play. I mean, they're making, you know, calls in there, whether it's 3rd down and they like a front to run it against 3rd and long, they're going to run it and gain 15 yards on 3rd down. You know, running the football, you know, I think Will talked about, or Jeff talked about running the football. So he's getting him in the right play. He's smart. Obviously, he's Lloyd Carr's nephew, you know, great football coach at Michigan. So, you know, he's a football coach's dream, I guess. And he's got a year under his belt. He's not a true freshman. Mason's a true freshman. So there's, you know, you take it where is Mason going to be in another year? That's, you know, that's trying to compare those two.
Do you have different conversations this week or last week also with Mason leading up to this, knowing this is probably the biggest stage he's about to play on so far in his
Maybe, I haven't. Walked in there this morning at 6:30, he's in there watching tape. You know, not really. I mean, it's like talking to the kicker, you know, just don't mess with him. Things are going good. He knows, you know, he knows he's got to play the best game he's played all year to win this football game. He knows that. I think he don't want to do anything to hurt the football team, so he's got to be smart, but he's also got to take chances too, right? I mean, if you sit back there and you're worried about not, you know, I don't want to get him to that point where he doesn't make that great throw because coach told me to protect the ball. He's got a guy open, but he was a little bit scared, so he took off running and got hit. I just want him to go play his game, but just to understand, you got to be smart.
Now that you've had 6 weeks with Mason as your starter, do you feel like you're able to know what you're going to get out of him more than maybe when you first put?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think for sure. I mean, you know, a heck of a lot more we know now than we knew going to that first game he started. So, yeah, we know a lot more about what he is, what he likes to do, what we like to do with him, and you know, his strengths and weaknesses. And again, that's what we've kind of addressed here over the last week. Is just, you know, at every position, you know, obviously start with that quarterback spot. What does he do well? What does he not do so well? And don't ask him to do things he doesn't do well. Let's ask him to do things he does well, and let's, you know, keep it simple and let him go out and execute.
Now we asked you about their run game. As you evaluated, time to self-evaluate, how do you feel like your run game is coming?
Depends on who's, you know, in that front seven. I mean, those guys, I mean, again, this week, I mean, they don't let you run the ball. I mean, they really didn't let Navy run the ball, and that's what they do for a living. You know, you're gonna have to pick your poison with that. You know, it's target. You know, we gotta find ways to run the ball. We want to run the ball. You know, we will run the ball. I guarantee you that. I still don't know what it's gonna be for. It might be, you know, not so good, but you know, you have to establish some type of run game, and you got to prove to them that you're going to run it. You can't just drop back and throw it 80% of the time. You're going to be in deep, deep trouble. It becomes third down long, which I've already talked about that.
Wow.
Anything else? All righty.